A Liberal MP was secretly flown back from the United States to Canberra last year to shore up the coalition's numbers in the final sitting week of Parliament. Here's political reporter Jane Norman.
The Liberal Party paid for backbencher Ann Sudmalis to return from New York, where she was on a 3-month posting to the United Nations. It was the final sitting fortnight and the government had been plunged into minority status. Liberal strategists were worried Labor would see an opportunity to bring down the government and withdraw a pair to boost their numbers. So a decision was made to bring Ms Sudmalis back for the final week. In the end, she left Canberra the way she arrived, her colleagues none the wiser. But it demonstrates how desperate the Morrison government was to avoid losing a vote in the House.
It's 10 minutes past 9 on ABC Sth East. We were due to speak with Warren Mundine this morning. I know he's on the road and was going to answer the phone, but he's been unavailable to speak to us this morning. But we've had a call from Ann Sudmalis, the sitting member for Gilmore. And this is a story doing the rounds on the ABC website this morning. Talking about her time towards the end of last year in federal parliament, saying that she flew into Canberra under cover of darkness to help bolster the coalition's numbers in parliament. Ann Sudmalis, good morning.
Oh my goodness, how dramatic. Simon.
It does sound very dramatic.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're back in Australia. What have you been up to over summer?
Oh gosh. Well, I got back from New York around, I think, either the 21st or 22nd of December, and had a wonderful Christmas with my family, which was just lovely. Because I'm not sure if everybody knows, I've got 2 little grandbabies, one's 5, one's 2.5. And so that was pretty special. Hadn't seen them for a very long time. And then I've taken on the responsibility of mentoring another parliamentarian in Myanmar again, a female parliamentarian. So that's with the International Women's Development Agency. So we all flew out to Myanmar about a week and a half later to go and talk to them, work with people in the United Nations Development Program, talking to your mission, and work with setting up the situation for mentoring another parliamentarian. So that was very busy. And then got back, and I think I got back on the 24th of January, and that was the beginning of the Australia Day celebrations. So, yeah, it's been busy.
Okay, and you'd be aware of this story on the ABC News website this morning by Jane Norman, saying that you were secretly flown back from the United States to shore up the coalition's numbers in the final sitting week of last year. Tell us about that. What happened?
Well, I think for the general population, number one, they need to know that none of that happened at their cost. Number two, the people who are the tragics who watch Question Time would need to watch the tenor and the mood of the Parliament for the last 2 weeks, and it wasn't pleasant. And so there was an action taken, but it was only a backup. And because there was 3 weeks of rumour mongering prior to that Labor was going to break the informal pair situation, which is like when somebody goes off on maternity leave, they're paired with somebody else. If somebody has to go to a funeral, they're paired with somebody else. I was paired with Jenny Macklin, but there were rumours going every which way but loose that the Labor Party was going to break one of their pairs.
Mm.
So, but that's seriously, on top of everything else that happened to me last year, it's an irrelevancy. I lost my dad. Circumstances changed so that my career had to take a totally different direction. So, yeah, it's been an interesting 6 months, and frankly, that's a blip.
So you were sitting there watching parliamentary proceedings to see if your vote was going to be needed, and you're ready to go into the chamber if necessary.
I was under instruction that if the pairs were broken by the opposition, then I would need to be there.
All right, and then you went back to New York, is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, now, there's been so much talk about your seat of Gilmore in recent weeks. Warren Mundine, of course, being put into the seat by Scott Morrison as the Liberal Party's candidate. What's your feeling on how that's all played out?
Well, I don't think very many people in your audience are aware of some of the machinations that happened for this whole scenario to have arisen in the first place. And the fact that the other potential Liberal candidate was not endorsed by the state directorship is a direct reflection on all the events that led up to me having to withdraw my nomination. So I have complete and utter respect for Scott saying that that is absolutely not the way to behave, and that is not the way to get yourself pre-selected. So there's so many things behind this story that people are not aware of. So Warren has got connections to this region. He's got family. There's some of the Geringer and some of the people further down. So he has family here. And if he believes that he can win this seat and Scott believes he can, then there's a possibility of that. My understanding is that and I've spoken with her, that there may be a Nationals candidate. I would be stoked if either or, because I don't want to see Labor come in. Because they're spruiking about how they're not going to be affecting our aged retirees who are on the franked dividends rebate, saying they never pay tax. These people pay tax all their lives. They invested in companies. These companies are paying tax on those franked dividends. They have the tax paid to the government. Therefore, the rebate, instead of going back to the company, because of the structure of the way the company law goes, that rebate goes back to the investors.
You're happy to support either Warren Mundine or Katrina Hodgkinson or both?
Well, they're both coalitionists, and for me, I've been working pretty well with Nationals the whole time, because most of the portfolios that relate to this region are in fact held by ministers from the Nationals. So regional infrastructure, regional roads, the community development grants used to be under the portfolio of the Nationals. There was so much, and I had very, very positive working relationships with all of them, not because I just had to, but because they're great people to work with. So, and in order to get the best deal for your electorate, you make sure you have good, positive working relationships for those who've actually got the signature rights on the purse strings for the grants that you need for your region.
Yesterday, my ABC colleague Gavin Coots spoke to Ian and Adele Hughes, who quit the Liberal Party because of concerns that they say the party was becoming autocratic. Are you worried that there's some damage being done at the grassroots level in Gilmore to the party support?
Probably need to talk to Ian and Adele and get the rest of that story, because that wasn't the whole reason.
What are the what else is going on then?
Well, they were at the AGM where everything went wrong. They were there. They saw it all happen. So there's like I said, there is a whole lot more to this story, and it's not anything to do with my federal colleagues. They have been amazingly supportive. So yeah, people should never judge what they think is happening by what they think they hear in the media, because there's always a great deal more depth to what's going on, and it can't always be put out in the media. But from this point forward, Simon, people should be judging all of the candidates on their merits, on their ability to deliver for this region, and for their ability not to take too much impact on their own hip pocket, because that's pretty clear what their options are. Who's going to deliver the best for Gilmore, and who's going to have the least impact on their own hip pocket?
Okay, well, Parliament sitting this week, that will keep you pretty busy. But once that's over and the focus is more firmly on the federal election, Ann Sudmalis, will we find you campaigning alongside Warren Mundine?
Look, because I've been around for so long, it's important for these people to start establishing their own reputations. Of course, there'll be meetings that I'll be able to feed to them and say, look, you need to be at this place, you need to be at that place, you should organise yourself to be there. That's my job. But by and large, they have to make their own impressions, because if I'm there, all the media want to do is talk about what happened last year, what my next steps are, and really, right now for the voter, they don't care. They just want to get to know who these candidates are. So, yeah, I think it's important for them to start showing their best talents and what they can bring to the region.
Does that mean you'll be stepping back and not really participating in campaigning?
Well, probably we'll need to. It's, like I said, it's important for these people to step up and do their thing. I'll be around, I'll be doing their things, but remember, I've still got commitments that I've promised for the people who are in this region, because I'm still the member. So I have events to get to, I have presentations to make, I have meetings to hold, I have constituents to help. So all of those things are my priority. my absolute priority. They always have been. They have always been my priority.
And last election, there was just over 1,500 votes in it. Do you think the coalition can hold Gilmore?
I think the coalition has to hold Gilmore. I've got 5,500 self-funded retirees who are going to go out the back door financially if Labor comes in with their frank dividends rebate pulled back. They will be, most of them. Some of them will slip back from, say, a $20,000 income down to 12, which will put them onto a part pension. Some of them will slip out of the net of self-funding altogether, and they'll be on a full pension. When some of the Labor people say that, oh, they're only rich people, that's a load of rubbish. I had a lot of forums last year, and believe me, 5,500 Gilmore self-funded retirees are going to be very, very badly affected by this.
Ann Sudmalis, great to hear from you this morning. Thank you very much.
Lovely to talk to you too, Simon, and I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Ann Sudmalis there, the member for Gilmore, calling in. We were due to speak to Warren Mundine, and we'll bring you a chat with you when we can very soon on ABC South East.